Hello and welcome back to Learn the Bible in a Year for March 3rd, 2026. Today, and I'm not making this up, is National If Pets Had Thumbs Day. Well, joke's on you, I happen to have a pet chimpanzee, and he has thumbs. So what do you think about that? I don't have a pet chimpanzee, but a man can dream, can't he? Today, we're going to talk about witnessing the grand opening of the tabernacle, followed immediately by a tragic workplace accident, and then Jesus tells a story that gets him put on the top of the most wanted list. So let's jump right in. So, yesterday we saw the intense 7-day ordination ceremony for Aaron and his sons. Today, in chapter 9, is the 8th day. So, it's go time. It's the first official day of business for the tabernacle and the new priests. Aaron does everything exactly as commanded. He offers a sin offering for himself first, because even the high priest needs atonement. Then he offers all the sacrifices for the people, the sin offering, the burnt offering, the peace offering. That's all done by the book. And the results are spectacular. After the final blessing, the glory of the Lord appears to all the people, and fire flashes out from the presence of the Lord and consumes the burnt offering on the altar. It's this incredible moment of divine approval. God is essentially saying, yes, this is how it's done. I accept this. The people see it, and they shout for joy. I mean, wouldn't you? And they all fall on their faces in worship. It's a mountaintop experience, as the old saying would go. The system works. Obedience brings God's glorious presence. And then, well, chapter 10 happens. The transition is jarring. Right after this incredible moment of divine fire, we get a story of a very different kind of fire. Aaron's two oldest sons, Nadab and Abihu, decide to do their own thing. They each take their censers, put fire to them, and add incense and offer what the text calls unauthorized fire before the Lord. The Hebrew word here is ishzara, which literally means strange fire or foreign fire. Now, we don't know exactly what made this fire strange. Maybe they got the fire from a common source instead of from the bronze altar, which was required. Maybe they used the wrong kind of incense. Maybe they entered the Holy of Holies, which is only what the high priest was allowed to do, and only once a year. The text doesn't go into details, it simply says it was contrary to his command. They improvised, they thought, hey, let's add our own little flair to this whole worship thing. And the response is terrifying and immediate. Fire comes out from the presence of the Lord and consumes them. They die on the spot in front of the tabernacle. Now, a question you might be asking here is, why such a severe punishment? It seems like, I don't know, maybe an overreaction. But the reality is that God gave very clear and concise and specific instructions on how to approach Him. After all, we are a very unholy people trying to approach a holy God. And as the entire nation of Israel learned, being lackadaisical or being lazy about how we approach a holy God can end in tragedy, as happened with Aaron's son. And as a response to this, Aaron, who is the high priest whose kids were just consumed by fire, he goes completely silent. He doesn't even grieve his own sons, meaning officially go into mourning. His role as high priest comes first. Now let's turn to the Gospel of Mark here. Now, Jesus had just cleansed the temple, and the religious leaders are, to put it mildly, not super happy. And our reading picks up right where we left off with the religious leaders confronting Jesus right there on the temple courts. They ask him the question that's been burning in our minds. By what authority are you doing these things? In other words, it's like the ancient Israel version of, who do you think you are? And Jesus, knowing that they're not asking an actual honest question, doesn't give them a straight answer. Instead, he traps them with a question of his own about John the Baptist. Now, the religious leaders cannot answer, so then he refuses to answer the religious leaders. But then he tells them a story. It's a parable of the wicked tenants, and this story has his answer. A man plants a vineyard and he builds it up and rents it out to some tenant farmers. When it's time to collect rent, or their share of the fruit, the master sends his servants. The tenants beat one servant and kills another and mistreat them all, really. And finally, the owner sends his own beloved son, thinking, surely they will respect my own son. But the tenants say, well, this is the heir. Let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they kill him and throw him out of the vineyard. Jesus then asks, what will the owner of this vineyard do? And he answers his own question. He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyards to others. The religious leaders are not stupid. They know exactly what Jesus is saying. The owner is God, the vineyard is Israel, the tenants are them, the religious leaders. The servants are the prophets God has sent throughout history, whom they and their ancestors have rejected, mistreated, and killed. And the beloved Son is Jesus himself. He is telling them to their face, you are the wicked tenants, you have rejected all of God's messengers, and now you're about to kill his son. And for that, God will remove you and give his kingdom to others. To make it even more explicit, he quotes Psalms 118. The stone the builders reject has become the cornerstone. He is the rejected stone, and God is about to make him the foundation of a whole new building. The parable is a direct prophecy of his own death and the judgment that will fall on the leadership of Israel. Mark tells us they knew he had spoken the parable against them. So no surprises there. And we finish today with Psalms chapter 29. After the tension and tragedy of Leviticus and Mark, this Psalms is like a thunderstorm that clears the air. It's a hymn of praise to the sheer power of God. And it goes like this. Ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord is heard over many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord shatters the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon skip like a calf and Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord strikes with flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists the oaks and strips the forests bare. And in his temple all cry, glory. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord is enthroned as king forever. The Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Alrighty, let's just hear a quick word from our sponsor, and our sponsor is Covenant Security Equipment, which is a Christian-owned company that partners with building contractors who build with safety in mind. So Covenant Security Equipment sells things like bullet-resistant windows and secure transaction systems and drive-through installations and much, much more. If this is interesting to you, go to covenantsecurityequipment.com. Also, don't forget to pick up a copy of the Learn the Bible in a Year workbook, the digital copy of this workbook, and the physical copy of the workbook. You can get the link to both of those in the show notes. All right. What was your main takeaway from today's reading? My main takeaway from today is actually what we read in Leviticus. First, we read about God coming in a consuming fire, and all of Israel fell on their face and worshiped him. That is the appropriate response to God. He is a holy God that is far above us. All we can do is fall on our face and worship him. And the mistakes made by Aaron's sons are also a good reminder of how we need to treat a holy God. Being in the presence of a holy God is not some small matter. It's not some matter where we can kind of just skip through the details. He is a holy God. We are not holy people. As a matter of fact, the only thing that allows us to be in the presence of God is because of the sacrifice of Jesus. So this story really puts into perspective our God, the creator of the universe, in all of his majesty, in all of his power. So that was my main takeaway from today. What was yours? I'd be super interested to hear what your main takeaway was. You can put a comment down in the comment section or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Alrighty, well, that is the podcast for today, and I will see all of you cool cats again here tomorrow.